Now, with the signing of the tax reform bills into law by President Tinubu, we're now joined by Innocent Ohagwa, President, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. There's no better person to be having this conversation with. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We've listened to Taiwo Yedele there and all sides trying to simplify this tax bills that the President has just signed into law. The Nigeria Tax Bill, Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. Well, the President says it's a bold step to boosting Nigeria's revenue base, reducing investor uncertainty, and deepening, the agenda to decentralize, our fiscal life in the country. Now, how far-reaching do you think these four laws now are? And which would you say is the most consequential as far as it affects the generality of Nigerians?
Good evening once again.
Thank you very much.
And good evening, Nigerians. I want to commend first the President and the committee that midwifed these four bills, the National Assembly and other stakeholders. These four bills are very massive, and from Chartered Institute of Taxation standpoint, we welcome it and we commend it seriously. The reasons being that this is the first time in the history of Nigeria, I can say, that tax legislations are fashioned to focus on the less privileged. Because, why am I saying this? The level of exemptions, the level of waivers, the level of incentives, the level of amendments that went into these four bills are quite massive. And I can say with a lot of assurance that it is a game changer. Yes, there are a lot of fears as to whether the law itself will answer all the questions. Right from day one, when this committee was working, issues that were arising and is being discussed at various places were indirectly signaling opportunity on how to address this thing. So now that the laws has been approved by the President and 6 months is added, before that time, I will confirm that will be good to go. Even now, a lot of steps have been taken. And the most important is that it is people-focused. Right. It is people-focused. It's not targeted in the short run for revenue mobilization. Yeah. Because in the short run, the revenue may drop, but will pick up when all the necessary evasive tendencies, the loopholes, because there are existing loopholes now, and there are gaps. So the essence is not even to bring those who are already paying taxes into the tax net, but those who are not there, it will bring them in, and it will give relief to the less privileged. I think I should just stop here.
Indeed. Mr. Taiwo Yedele did say that this is returning to the social contract between the government and the people. He has also phrased this as pro-poor. The President also highlighted that today when he was signing the act. Let's look at some of the highlights. Zero VAT policy on essential food, baby products, CNG, transport, petrol. Do these really translate to low business costs for SMEs? Or will it just be good PR? How does this really translate for betterment of Nigerians and small businesses? And I also wanted to ask you, because you highlighted that the current tax system we had in the past were very weak. The culture of tax is weak in Nigeria. How will these new laws change the way people and businesses engage with tax system?
Yes. The first question, we are talking about zero rating and exemption.
Yes.
There are almost 16 items that were either exempted or zero rated. And in the tax balance, when an item is zero rated, means that you don't charge VAT. But if there are inputs you incur, you will be refunded. So these categories of goods and services are massively consumed by middle and low level people. So it will go a long way. That's why I said in the short run, even government may get lesser revenue, because all this categorization of zero rating, they were all vatable now. Now, another massive reform is that if you purchase capital items, now you will not allowed to claim the input VAT. But under the new law, you can expend them, and that will conserve funds for businessmen, especially medium and small businesses. Okay. So you don't need to defy it for 5 years over the depreciation period, so you can claim it. So that has a massive effect on both on the businesses itself and the citizens on themselves.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting point. And I'm wondering, with this zero exemptions, I mean, like you said, government may lose some revenue in the short run, but in the long term, everybody gets to win. But the 7.5% VAT that's remained, is it sustainable in the long term? How realistic is this figure for VAT? Yes. I mean, recall that the IMF and other institutions have been advising the Nigerian government to increase the VAT. Some recommend even as high as 15%. You are
correct. But another argument is that are all those that are subject to pay VAT, are they in the net? Bring everybody. If you increase the basket, even if the rate is low, you may get more. So at 7.5 now, when we have brought in all those that are not in the net, you find out that in the long run, the amount will increase. But in the long run, too, the rate can be adjusted, because when you want to compare with West African countries and outside Africa, you find that Nigerian rate for VAT is one of the lowest.
Let's look at the 6 months the government has before proper implementation. Is that too long, too short, or just appropriate? And what exactly would they be doing? They say sensitization and documentation and all of that, but in your professional view, what would you be advising the government and the tax body to do in the next 6 months before January 1st?
Okay, like I said, the reforms is very massive. So if you take the 3 months that the National Tax Policy provided that you need to give any new law, to implement it. For this massive, it will be too short. So that 6 months appear okay. And during this period, regulations will be prepared. There will be transition issues. For example, currently, 25 million is exempted, and it has been moved to 50 million. If you start implementing it in 3 months' time, at the end of December, which turnover are you going to use? Are you going to use 2 months or 3 months? So it is neater that from January, everything starts afresh, and it enables business owners to also configure their system appropriately. And you must have heard about fiscalization and e-invoicing. All these things involves, deployment of technology. So this will give business owners and also professionals, practitioners, tax professionals who, educate their clients, advise them, and be ready for full implementation by January. So I think this 6 months is very, very okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, President Tinubu also notes that we are not yet there, even with the signing of this law, but we're firmly on the road. What will it take to actually get us there? And what exactly is there as far as this, taxes are concerned? And I'd like you to also help us understand the income tax and the thinking behind 800,000, for example, is 0%, 2.2 million, 15%, 9 million, 18%, 50 million, 25%. Help us understand the thinking behind, this
let me start from the last one.
Yes.
The government wants to de-emphasize on taxing people with lower income. That is why they want disposable income for the low and medium to have. Even if you earn 1.7 million per month, which is about 20.4 million per annum.
Right.
The rate declines. It comes down. And the essence is that the focus should be those who are earning above that 1.7 per month, up to 50 million. So those ones, the higher rate, the terminal rate is about 25%.
Yes.
And because of this, there is also, it will discourage people who restructure their business. Some people who want to incorporate or want to operate as a sole person. Now, there is no advantage. Whether you remain as a sole proprietorship or you want to incorporate, the tax effects are substantially, the same, because those that are exempted cut across, both classes, and those that are taxable, especially the high income bracket, it cuts across.
So the higher you earn,
the more you pay.
The more you pay. Now, President Tinubu said we're not yet there.
Yes.
What is that ideal? What is there?
Yes,
what is that
we are not yet
ideal
there.
that we're looking at?
Yes,
as
we are
far
not
as
yet, we are not
tax
yet there.
administration is
But
concerned?
these steps, distance of a long mile, takes with a giant step. This particular step is very, very, prominent. And what it has done is that all the ICT that is involved to track business transactions at all levels, will be there. Unlike before, you can come and say, I stay in my state, I'm not in Abuja. When Abuja comes, you say, when your state comes, you say you are in Abuja. So that type of conflicting information is because we don't have data. But going forward, there will be data. It will not be possible for one to say that, I'm in my village, not in Abuja, because the data will show where you are.
Right. But it does look like a win for
Yes.
almost everybody.
Yes.
Employers, employees, foreigners,
Exactly.
state government,
The small business
small
owner.
businesses.
Small business
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Countdown to the next 6 months. We have to thank you so much for your thoughts. President Innocent Ohagwa is the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.